Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt Vett, and today I am joined by...
James the Wildcard.
How's it going?
It's going good. I've been watching some YouTube video stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was watching something with Sonic the Hedgehog because, you know, it's fun to watch because I don't have the ability to play the games anymore. So I don't have... Well, I do have the PS...
He lost all ability to see Sonic games. He can't... When you put on a Sonic game, he's like, why are you staring at a blank screen?
It's just too quick for me. But but it's funny because every so often I'll roll the dice and I'll look at the comments. Because, you know, on YouTube, it's a terrible idea.
It's so much fun to look at comments on video games and Games Workshop. Anything like hobby nerd related, it's always great to read the comments.
It is. But, you know, every so often I go, okay, I can stand to lose a few brain cells. Let me read the comments. So there was a huge comment debate on how Sonic really isn't the fastest thing alive. And I'm like,
okay.
Why? They're like, you know, he's really not that fast in his games when you look at how fast he moves versus the terrain around him. I'm like, that's because if he was moving as fast as he could, he'd be unplayable.
And also, he's the fastest in his universe.
Well,
everything else is moving pretty slow compared to him.
Even though, you know, even with his cannon and his whole fluff stuff, he is a fast mofo, but he is a fast mofo. We could not play the game at his speed because we would just run right off a cliff.
Yep.
Immediately. So it was just like this whole thing, well, you know, that's not really that. And it led to me remembering the big thing with Star Fox and how a barrel roll, that's not really a barrel roll.
A barrel roll, it's an avion roll.
Aileron roll, which is a bunch of BS. It's a barrel roll because we're talking about the Star Fox universe. This is a galaxy somewhere, nowhere near us. With the R-Wing, which has got quad G diffuser systems, which I have no idea what that means, but that's what it has in it. Slippy tells you so. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's piloted by a toad, a bird, a fox, and a rabbit.
Yep.
In that universe, and it's also capable, the R-Wing is capable of limited flight underwater, is capable of flying in space and in atmosphere. So who are we to say that it's not doing a barrel roll? We don't have planes that are the exact same thing as that.
How do we know that in their society that's a barrel roll, and in our society what we call an aviary roll, they call
the barrel roll.
Not a barrel roll.
Well, in proper fighter jet stuff, that's an aileron roll, the way they're rolling. But yeah. If you look at the R-Wing design, it's not a proper fighter jet. It's also capable of interstellar travel when you fly through the rings. It can just power it up and go blasting off into oblivion. And it can charge up laser shots. So people need to relax. It's a barrel roll in the Star Fox continuity.
Yep.
And that just made me remember that when I was watching this a Sonic game. I forget what Sonic game it was. It was either I can't remember the name of them, but it was the Sonic Adventures, one of those.
Okay. And
they were like, he's not really that fast if you look at everything else, and it's just like, come on, guys, we can't control games when characters get too quick. You know, it's like it's impossible to control somebody that can run faster than the speed of sound on a game.
Yeah,
he'd be like, all right, time to start playing. To hit, move to the right, and I'm dead. What happened?
Pretty much.
So that also, question for you.
Uh-oh.
Star Wars is owned by Disney.
Now, yes.
Now, yes. So is Princess Leia now a Disney princess?
No.
Come on, she can be hanging out and chatting with the other Disney princesses.
It's the same issue that they have with Giselle from Enchanted. They would have to pay a royalty to Carrie Fisher in order to make her a Disney princess. Just with Amy Adams, they would have had to pay a royalty to make her a Disney princess.
I don't understand why, though, when they own the intellectual...
They own it, but it's her image. And she did get this whole big... lawsuit thing with George. That's why that she basically put a cease and desist on her face. That's why animation drawings and statues of Princess Leia kind of look a little off compared to the other figures.
Right. But I mean, what if you What if they did that with Princess Leia as a drawing, not her picture, but a drawing, up as a Disney princess? It's not quite her face because she's not actually Leia. She portrayed Leia.
Yes, but in their actuality, Disney princesses are characters that officially were in a Disney animated film.
Give it time. We're gonna have an animated Star Wars thing happen again. Give it time. You know how they love to do that every so often.
It's sort of like why, it was a very big deal that Merida became a Disney princess, because technically Pixar is its own studio.
Right.
Which is why the Pixar films don't follow the Disney Vault rules.
I hate the Disney Vault rules, to be honest with you.
Everyone hates the Disney Vault rules. The same reason why I hate that we have a new rule book that's $58.
I liked it. But I hate the Disney Vault rules, because the new rule book is $58 will be there to buy.
Yes.
Until a new edition comes out. The damn Disney Vault rules will say, here's 2 seconds where you can purchase The Lion King. Oh, gone. Or whatever, They've been getting better with it. There's a couple of films that I thought was already still in the Disney Vault that we're still selling at my store. I'm like, didn't these go back a year ago? And apparently they didn't. So, is there because you know more about this than I do, is there a formula they follow, X amount of time, or is it based on popularity? If it's a more popular Disney thing, it stays out longer?
I think it's based on what they can craft in a special edition.
All right, now, and what would you...
a good example, The Lion King. Mm-hmm. Let's just say they did one where they added in that song, The Morning Report, which was kind of crappy. Then they had an extra video of another scene. Well, that gives them justification of ending the release early. They can throw it out and then go, well, we have this extra scene, so we can justify a re-release for $40 because of that extra scene. But something like, say, right now, Cinderella, that's been out for quite a while. They've probably thrown every piece of content they have for Cinderella. So they're like, we can keep this out longer until it stops selling. Then we can do a vault thing for it, is my understanding.
Okay, because I was always curious about that, because Disney has a nice little library of animated films. Yep. And it's like, well, release some stuff again. People want to buy it.
If they wait for anniversaries, because then they can justify a special edition and an extra cost, because then they can call it the Super Ultimate Plasma Premium Platinum 50th Year Edition. If Disney really wants to throw people for a loop, re-release Song of the South. Which I've seen reviews of that, and I understand apparently the reasoning behind it was because Disney felt like it was too racy that people would get offended by. I'm like, this is probably the least raciest thing they've ever seen. Dumbo has more racism.
Yeah, right? Dumbo is...
And that film, they keep pumping it out every 10-year anniversary. It's like, you've got a stereotype that's clearly a stereotype in that film. Song of the South is actually fairly mild. It's they don't do anything in that film that wasn't actually happening in that time period.
And Disney being worried about racy things is like saying Disney should just say, let's not make any animated films, because there's always something racy in their animated stuff, or yep. just highly inappropriate, but is not caught because it's it's Dumbo. Yeah. But so it's.
Or they did pick the stupidest thing, like in Aladdin when people were upset by when they cut off your ear if they don't like your face line.
Okay.
In the very original theatrical release, I think we probably got rid of it, but we used to have a soundtrack tape with the original line in it.
Yeah.
The opening song is well, I come from a land in a faraway place where the caravan camels roam.
Yeah.
If you buy a version today, the next line is where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. but the original theatrical release and the original soundtrack release had it as where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home.
Right. But, like, people get so uppity about the littlest things.
Yeah.
And, but it's just, I've always was curious about the whole Disney Vault thing because it seems like they throw a dart at a dartboard and go, hey, all right.
Well, there's a ruling as to which films will come out, but I think it, like, again, this part is just me speculating. I think it depends on amount of unused content that they can throw into an edition and how they can spread it out to see how long it stays available in store before they bring it out. Because I've noticed, like, Cinderella, when it came out, it's still out, and I think it's been out for at least, at minimum, half a year, and there wasn't anything added to that edition. But then I noticed, like, when they did Little Mermaid, they threw in that extra scene with the guy merman, and that was out for 2 months and then was gone.
Right. I guess it would depend, and then also it's like, I mean, for me, everything up to Lion King, like, in terms of year of release, is like a classic. You know, like it's Cinderella. Yeah. I grew up watching Cinderella on VHS and Cinderella. I grew up to all of that. So like me personally, I'm not like I would go buy it on like DVD or Blu-ray just to have it in the current media you can watch stuff in because it's a classic just to have it, you know. Yeah. Like that's why I own some of the stuff I own. Like I own the whole Transformers stuff on DVD because it's G1 through G4. Why not own it?
I wish I owned all of it. When it came out, I didn't have the money. This is the thing with like those classic TV shows for me. When it comes out, I have no money, and then once I have money, it's gone.
Yeah, you know,
like I was only able to get the first DVD release of season 1. That was it because they stopped selling everything else.
It's true. I know the pain with some of the stuff like that. And just speaking of Transformers real quick, I rediscovered one of my favorite Transformers because he's never actually in any of the shows from G1 through G4. He's in some of the newer stuff, but he's never in. He's kind of unofficially in it in that one scene on Cybertron when the planes are all shooting at one of the Autobots.
Okay.
And he's yellow. He's called Sunstorm.
Sunstorm.
And Sunstorm is basically take Starscream, paint him up in Sunstorm's color, which is yellow and gray and white.
Yep.
And make him crazy.
There he is.
Make him crazy. And like his powers are always cool. I've always liked the idea about him. He has multiple incarnations from the different Transformers.
Yeah, the universes.
Stuff. Yeah. But they're all kind of similar. And I just always liked them. But he was never in a show. He had toys, but he was never actually in a show. So I kind of forgot about him.
This is interesting that they gave Sunstorm the Starscream Emperor look here.
Because in one of the things, he's literally a clone brother of Starscream.
Yeah.
So, like, he looks almost identical to Starscream, which is one of the reasons why I like him, because I really like Starscream.
Starscream is the man.
But like Sunstorm's cool because it's a cool name. His abilities are cool. Like he has like the power of the sun basically. He's always sent out alone because if he gets too close to even the Decepticons, short circuiting happens and he's just crazy. He's also kind of crazy.
I see that. I found the one screenshot where he makes an appearance.
Yeah, right. That one shot.
Yep. Hi, Mom. I'm on TV.
Yeah, but so I just was looking up Transformer stuff because I was thinking, and this is how I found them because I was looking up the G1 color schemes for everybody. Because I was thinking if they do another Transformers movie where they bring back the Transformers like Decepticons back proper and stuff like that, if they ever kind of redo that, I think it would be really cool if like take Starscream from Transformers, the first live action Transformers film. How he looked was fine. Everything was fine about him. But I thought it would be really cool if that was like his incognito, and then when he truly reveals himself, he was in his Starscream colors, you know? I thought if if you have Megatron in his proper colors, Starscream in his proper colors, and Soundwave in his proper colors, like you have like their camo thing look like a regular jet.
Yeah.
But then when they know I'm Starscream now, no need to hide anymore. Boom, red and blue and everything like that. I thought that would be really cool if they did that in an upcoming film.
I just want. At this point, I would just like for the sound to be more distinguished in it, and less pistons. There's like every time they transform, they seem to like produce pistons everywhere.
Yeah, they do have like hydraulic cylinders and pistons a lot. I mean, I get it. It would be nice to see them more, for lack of a better term, 80s-ified, where it's covered.
Traditional.
Yeah.
Or if anything, at the very least, the frickin' theme song. I mean, come on. None of these kids shows that we've gotten in any live-action incarnation has ever given us the frickin' theme song. G.I. Joe did give it to us. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't give it to us. Transformers didn't give it to us. None of them have ever given us our theme song.
We kind of got it in Spider-Man, played by the people on the street on a guitar.
Yes.
That's about it.
But it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, especially, like, I think what's even really sad is, like, when you watch the original Rise of Cobra, which, between the two, Rise of Cobra was not as good as Retaliation.
Oh, I agree.
But the original movie theme song, like the extended G.I. Joe theme song, perfectly fit the plot of that movie.
Yeah, I know.
And nowhere did they do a remake of it.
No, they didn't. I agree. I think they're missing a really good opportunity there to do that. And that's why they did it, I mean, in the Transformers movies, the live-action ones, all of them. The way they transformed, I didn't have a problem with it. I did like, in the very first transformation we hear the...
Yeah.
And then he transforms after that. I thought that was great. Like
that was the best transformation.
Yeah. And then they did it again really quick when the Booth is falling and the Booth and Fox are falling from Optimus Prime's hand. You hear it and it's off screen, but that's when Bumblebee transforms to catch them. They do the sound again. Yeah. And they do it like a couple other times in all the other movies combined, and it was done tastefully, and I appreciate that. But more of the nostalgia factor, I think would really work well in those films.
Like the transformation sequence, I think what I don't like about it, for the most part for me, is when I see them transform, I'm like, where is all of this coming from? Like,
I forgive
I'm
that.
like, where do they fit half the crap that's moving in their bodies to make this?
I forgive that because Megatron turns into a handheld gun.
Well, that part, like, again, there's some silly things about it. I will admit that. But, like, I'm just sitting there going, how is Optimus that small if, like, 50 million gears and he, like, increases twice his size before he shrinks back down? Like, they seem to grow when they transform and then shrink back down.
Yeah, I mean, they do, but I let that slide because that's this classic Transformers questioning, like how size clearly has no form in these guys.
I think the best is I was watching the commentary on the original movie.
Yeah.
And the writer explained how he justified in his head the trailer appearing for Optimus in the the first time we hear You Got the Touch. He's like, yeah, I sat there and I wrote it in that the trailer is made out of invisitorium, a special alloy that when Optimus doesn't need the trailer, it goes invisible. But when he needs it, it becomes visible. And I'm like, what? Props for giving yourself justification, but why?
Yeah. And I have to say, out of everything from the original Transformers, G1 and the original movie, the original thing with Unicron and everything, with Optimus Prime, I was always so confused about Optimus Prime's trailer. Even when they try to explain away when it opens up to like a gun thing, even when they try to explain it, I'm like, but everybody else, they are their entire vehicle. So is this a separate Transformer? Is it like, what is his trailer?
Yeah, I don't know. And where did it come from? That's the bigger question. That little robot just goes, repair, fix, and then boom, he's got a trailer.
I know. It's like, so is he just separating himself? And I'm so confused. I was so confused by his trailer because everybody else, they are their entire thing. And with him, trailer...
Even like Minosaur, because Minosaur has like a trailer thing. That's his legs.
Yeah.
No, that's his body.
Right.
His head becomes his leg.
Even Ultra Magnus has a trailer, but that's part of his body.
Yeah.
It's just...
He's the only one who doesn't have it.
And it's just like, with Optimus Prime, he's like, let's roll out. He transforms and trailer magically attaches to him. Like, what happened? Where did that come from?
And the bigger question, does he need that trailer to roll out?
I don't know.
Because I don't recall any time where he's in vehicle mode and he doesn't have the trailer.
Yeah, and it's so weird because only in the movie do they show him like detach and it just go away from it. Because everywhere else he transforms, rolls out with trailer. Cut to battle scene. He transforms into robot. Trailer gone.
And the trailer like shrinks behind him in frame.
Yeah,
it always just like shrinks out of existence and then it's gone in the next shot. You're like, but there should be a trailer right there.
It was always so confusing. But no, it's a valid. The more I think about it, the more confused I get, really, because no matter how you try to explain it, because you never see it created. It's just boom, trailer. Like truck needs a trailer. Here's a trailer. But speaking of our childhood, you know what? I think it just got re-released, or it's going to come out within this week. The entire Pee-wee's Playhouse on Blu-ray.
Yep.
And I was like, OMG.
To be perfectly honest, I didn't watch a lot of Pee-wee when I was younger.
Oh my god. I did, and then when they put him on Adult Swim, back in 2007 or something like that.
I did watch him back then.
I watched it a lot, and I'm like, this explains so much of why I turned out how I did. This is crazy. Like, absolute insanity. I don't know how that became you could never make that a kid's show today.
No. What's the word of the day?
And it doesn't matter. Just scream. But like
the king of cartoons.
Yeah, and Jambi.
Jambi. Mecha hi, Mecha God, I want to kill you.
And like it's not just on Blu-ray. They spent a lot of time and money in remastering it for Blu-ray, so it looks a lot better. And I want to get that so bad.
That I will not look less of you for that. I can totally understand wanting Pee-wee's Playhouse.
And from his mouth, another Pee-wee movie is on the rise.
Yep.
And I can't.
Yep.
I'm gonna see it.
I remember the one scene. I remember one of the scenes where he's riding on his bike and then he walks into the middle of a Godzilla recording, and it's just Godzilla running through the city. He attacks Mothra, then you just see Pee Wee Herb go by. Ching ching, hi guys. And the crew is like, what the good does? I think it's his Big Adventure. I think is when he does it.
Right. I didn't realize he was one of the voices in A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I looked up what he's done, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Recently, Jimmy Fallon, apparently Jimmy Fallon does this thing where he throws Pee-wee's voice over things.
Yeah, and he had him actually do it for.
Yep.
Though
I was a little, it's sad. Is it sad that I was a little upset because I was hoping for more of a sinister sounding Pee Wee Herman for the There Are No Strings on Me. I was hoping that he'd do just it sinisterly, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, but
I liked how he said, "You do it better than me."
Yeah, and that actor, Paul Rubens, he does a good job and stuff. He really does, and I like it, especially because I wouldn't think it, when he becomes Pee-wee, it really is not like him at all. You really...
No.
You can't tell. You wouldn't... not that you can't tell. If you see him, you can tell, but
he's in Everybody Loves Raymond, and I have to, be reminded that that's him.
Is he really?
He plays, Robert's wife's brother.
Okay.
He's in a couple of episodes. He started out in one episode in the Hackadoo episode when Ray had to find this rare card and such. The comic book owner was Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, okay.
And that's how they introduced him. Robert went, Amy's, or whoever her name is, his brother runs a comic shop. I'll give you his number. Maybe he could hook you up. And he came on and he makes a couple of appearances when they go to his wife's house.
What? He was in Batman Returns?
He's in Batman Returns?
He was Penguin's father.
Interesting.
I was just like, what? I'm going to have to watch that again just to see if I can...
I know which character he's talking about. It does not look like him.
Yeah, no, that's weird.
It does not look like him at all in that movie.
So, yeah, it's that...
He was also in Blues Brothers.
He's done stuff that you just don't realize.
Chaz Paul Waiter.
Yeah, but Pee-wee...
Cheech and Chong? Dang, Dream On? Flight of the Navigator, right? He's the voice of the Max.
And Pee Wee Herman. Like I've watched a lot of pretty much all of Pee Wee Herman.
The Vampire Slayer?
Yeah, he was in for an episode or something.
He's Locke in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, and I would never have guessed that. To be honest, because he
was the Spleen in Mystery Men. I didn't know that was him. I thought that was someone totally different.
Right. He's done some stuff.
Yep. He's in Reno 911 Miami. The Smurfs. He's Jockey Smurf in the Smurf movies. Oh, wow. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And if somebody was to ask me what's the plot for the Pee-wee show and the Pee-wee movie, I'd be like, it's Pee-wee Herman.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't. There's no. What's a plot? That's like. I don't.
He's in Rugrats.
He's done a lot, and it's just.
He's Batmite in Batman Brave and the Bold. And he's in Kung Fu Panda, and he's in Star Wars Rebels as RX-24.
Yeah, and if anybody has not seen Pee-wee's Playhouse,
give it a look.
Give it a look. I will say though,
watching.
if you're a youngin', you're probably not going to get it. It's definitely you had to be there in the time it came out type of deal.
You had to be there
type of deal. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like there's no. You had to have grown up even though it stops in 1990, you had to be growing up in the 90s when they played it and reruns it a lot.
Yeah, the 90s and the 80s to really get it.
Yeah, the atmosphere this day and age, you might not get it, but it was great. And
well, I don't know, the SpongeBob audience might enjoy it because it's kind of like on par with that in terms of the randomness.
It is, but I would say it's smarter.
A little bit, yeah. It's a lot because you at least sometimes learn something.
Yeah. Sometimes. Let's emphasize the sometimes. But
Michael Jackson, I think, was on that once.
Who wasn't on that?
I think he made appearance. It was very much like the Muppet Show. There was a lot of famous people on that show.
Yeah, and when I saw that, what I realized, and it has nothing to do with Pee-wee's Playhouse, but it's just from that era, from that age of the 80s and 90s. I miss a good old-fashioned skunk joke. Like whether it's live action or cartoon, when a skunk shows up and everybody freaks out.
Don't let the skunk Le Pew!
Exactly.
Le Pew! I love Le Pew.
Yeah, Le Pew, and Pepe Le Pew was great, and even just like in some of the older early 90s movies, like when it's part of a comedy thing, they end up invariably camping out somewhere and get skunked, and it's always funny. Like
skunks.
I miss a good skunk joke. So it's just it's a different era this day and age.
Yeah,
skunks are hard pressed for work now.
Yeah. Speaking of skunks, I don't know how this brought up, but I finally myself got to see Dracula Untold. I used our free movie passes that we got that day when Expendables 3 was too awesome for the theater to play.
Yes. Yeah.
It's true story. We went to see Expendables 3, and the theater went, this film's just too epic, the projector can't play it.
Yeah,
we're sorry.
It just wouldn't play.
And so we got free movie tickets. So I saw Dracula Untold, and you're right. If you go in thinking about Bram Stoker's novel, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But it's a very good film, and it's a warm, welcome relief from all the Twilight-influenced vampire media has gotten lately.
And it's a better love story than Twilight.
It is a better love story than Twilight. Because it doesn't have Christian Poop Smeller in it.
Yeah, but you're right, and what I was saying with the whole Bram Stoker thing as well. But it is. You're right. It's refreshing in the vampire genre because, let's be honest, we had. I don't want to say it jumped the shark, the vampire genre, but when we had, Interview with a Vampire was done so well. Bram Stoker's Dracula movie was done so well. And even John Carpenter's vampire series was pretty awesome.
Okay. John Carpenter's Vampires is a bad movie, but it is still fun to watch.
I didn't say it was a good movie. I just said it was awesome.
That's what I'm saying. It's, we're not trying to sugarcoat anything here. The movie's garbage, but it is a fun movie to watch. Every time I sit there and see it now, thanks to Family Guy, all I keep singing when they're traveling is someone to care for, to be there for. I've got James Woods.
Exactly. And that's why I just love it, like, Mahogany. but it's not. It's not like I can't even put it on in the same continent as Bram Stoker's Dracula and Interview with the Vampire. But it was just so much fun to watch. It was so enjoyable to watch, and it was its own thing. And then you have like
Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Oh, another good movie.
Yeah, they were good. And you had Dracula 9000. No, but
yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, but like really, the two big powerhouses of the vampire genre, especially from that period, was Interview with the Vampire and Bram Stoker's.
Bar none.
And they are peerless. I mean, if you want to watch a good vampire movie, watch one of those.
Yes, those are like vampires done right.
Yeah, and then
in our age, let's be honest, the vampire mythos was dramatically different before Bram Stoker came along.
It was, but at the same time, also the vampire mythos from our age today is the same.
Yes,
Twilight does shat all over it, but
yeah.
But my point is that then you had like vampire movies have been kind of mulled over a lot. Really, like vampires were bad, like they were used very watered down in some other stuff. And this Dracula Untold, I feel, is very refreshing because it's tackling the vampire head on, and it's not watering things down. It's doing Dracula their own way, which is fine. And it was just refreshing because it wasn't like we're vampires, so we can be beautiful forever. And so it was like, how dare we live our lives in a cursed world?
It was very much I'm doing what I have to do, even if it damns my soul.
Yeah, and how great was the bad guy's armor, the golden armor?
Yeah, the Sultan was pretty badass.
Yeah, his armor was awesome. But the movie was great, and it was just it was great because it was so refreshing, and there's a lot they can do with this.
Yeah. And the power set they gave Dracula was really awesome.
It was, and it was also, I mean, some of it was kind of like, not new, but new for the big screen.
Yeah.
But, because, I played Castlevania. Some of those are just blatant Castlevania power sets.
Yes.
But like, when he looks up, this is not getting me anything, when he looks up to the stars, and he gets super clarified, I thought that was a really good way to like show, hey, awesome perception. I thought that was a very good cinematic way to do that. Like,
even the whole like mythos behind it was also very awesome.
Exactly. Like, so I think it was very refreshing because what have we had vampire wise in the big screen
since then?
Well, before this movie was like
before this, it was Priest and Twilight, I believe.
And Priest I saw, and Priest I enjoyed the heck out of, but sure, we'll call them vampires. Like it's like vampire demon type of thing is what it.
Yeah.
Like. But when I saw Priest, I was like, you know what this is? This is a Jedi without a lightsaber.
Pretty much.
Like, this is Star Wars, but fighting vampires without lightsabers.
Pretty much.
And I was more than okay with that. But we really haven't had much. And even still, like that, like Priest, it was, we're fighting vampires. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, it's not like...
Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Say no more.
Yeah. Like, and then of course, you had Twilight, where,
Yep. Twilight. Okay. I'm going to say that aside from the sparkling, they blatantly just ripped off Anne Rice's vampires.
Essentially, but and what hasn't really?
Yeah, because it was the same dealio. Each vampire had one significant, unique ability that they had, that they were awesome at, and even in even in Interview with a Vampire, Lestat couldn't read his mom's mind, and that pissed him off that he couldn't read her thoughts, just like Edward can't read Bella's thoughts.
Right.
And it's just...
No, speaking of that, though, Interview with a Vampire, so good. Queen of the Damned, so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how it fell so far.
From my understanding, one, they did ask Tom Cruise to play Lestat again. He said no, which was dumb on his part.
Yes.
Two, apparently what it was is they had a contract deal for the rights of Lestat and Queen of the Damned. So they were going to make Lestat and then make Queen of the Damned. So, but if you notice, the Queen of the Damned was very much a mesh of both books together.
Right.
The reason was their contract with Anne Rice was running out, and they didn't feel like renewing it. So they did the next best thing, and they went, well, let's just cram the two movie scripts together and make one film. That way we can get it done in time. But this is what happened.
Like, next best thing would have been to shoot themselves in the foot instead of doing that. But, I mean,
next best thing would have just been do Lestat, or just skip Lestat and do Queen of the Damned.
Or just not do anything.
Do it. Yeah.
Like, getting the Interview was, like... I know it sounds like I'm overhyping it, and for some people maybe I am who've seen it.
It might be.
And for some people, it's just not their cup of tea. But when you comparatively, Interview with the Vampire was great. So good. So good. And when you look at that and compare it to Queen of the Damned and see it's in the same book series, you're like, what happened?
And to be honest, I am not a big fan of Tom Cruise, but there was no one else that could have played Lestat better.
He did a very good job. Like, the thing is, here's my deal with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, see? Even Elena agrees. That movie's great.
Yeah. Here's my deal with Tom Cruise.
He's crazy.
He is. But when Tom Cruise... When did Interview with a Vampire come out?
That was like in the 90s, I want to say?
I want to say so, too, but I've been wrong on so many things before. So.
What?
Here we go. 1994.
Elena's confirming... Yes, Elena's did confirm it. 1994.
Okay. Early to mid 90s Tom Cruise and then then 80s Tom Cruise, I'm alright with. Then he went crazy.
He went Tom Cruise crazy.
But then when he embraced his Tom Cruise crazy and played some roles, I started liking him again. Like in some of the movies he's done more recently. But you have like the late 90s and early 2000s where I'm just like, Tom Cruise, what? Like.
The Mission Impossible movies. The first one was good, but why'd you have to continue? And according to this, he's doing a second Top Gun movie.
That is going to be fantastic. It was him trying to fly a plane again, but can't. But
Mission Impossible 5 is filming right now. Mm-hmm. Top Gun 2 was announced, and Jack Reacher Never Go Back has been announced.
Jack Reacher was great.
I didn't see Jack Reacher, so I can't say.
I saw Jack Reacher. I mean, the Mission Impossibles, because they're doing a fifth one because it makes money.
The first one was really good.
It was all right. I mean,
the second one, it was bad after the second one.
Yeah, but I saw like one of the later ones that they did. I guess Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol, yep.
Not bad. Not bad, but Mission Impossible was never really my thing anyway, so whatever. But
War of the Worlds.
He was great, and you know what made me like him again? Tropic Thunder made me like him again.
I did see his part in Tropic Thunder, sadly.
Did you see Tropic Thunder?
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't seen the whole thing, sadly.
Well, okay, then I won't say.
I know. I've been meaning. You could go. It's past the statute of limitations.
The part. Well, I'm not going to tell you who he is, but the part he played when I saw it in theaters, I sat through the entire film going, the character, like. He looks so familiar, and his voice is so familiar, and he's like who is playing this guy? And we get towards the end, and I was watching it with one of my friends. We're both looking at each other, going, who was that? I'm like, and one of us was like, was that Tom Cruise? We're like, no. And then we saw the credits, and we're like, that was Tom Cruise. It was like, because I didn't see any of the hype before Tropic Thunder. I just saw it, so I didn't see anything build for it, and it hit me completely by surprise. I'm like, I like you again, Tom Cruise. After that,
there's I think one of the biggest issues with Tom Cruise, honestly, is just that he's like other characters. There's with a few exceptions to a lot of his films, he just tends to play the same person over and over again.
Oh yeah, he does. He gets billed that way, and even if it's not, it just feels like it is because
it's just it's a good example is like Michael Cera. You know, no matter what, you just see that kid from Superbad in every role that he's in.
Right.
You know, it's just you can't take him out of it. He's no Gary Oldman. Let's just say.
Yeah.
You know, the man who we had that same reaction with Kung Fu Panda 2. We were sitting there. And we're like, wow, this Peacock villain is really awesome. He's like a bad, he's awesome, man. And then we're watching the credits and we see Gary Oldman's name and we're like, who did Gary Oldman play? And then we're like, oh, he's the Peacock. That's why he was awesome.
Right. I mean, the thing with a lot,
and also with Jean-Claude Van Damme, we were like, where was he in this film?
Exactly. But like with Tom Cruise. A lot, you know what it is? It's not even. This is my theory on it. It's not that it feels like he's the same character and everything. It's in his big earlier stuff when he was Top Gun. He was like being Maverick. Maverick and Mission Impossible together is what all of his characters feel like.
Kind of, yeah.
Like they have some form of that. With the exception of Interview with the Vampire, with the exception of Tropic Thunder, and I would say with the exception... A Few Good
Men is also really good.
Yeah,
I liked him in that.
And I also liked him in Days of Thunder a lot.
I haven't seen Days of Thunder.
It's good. It's a movie about NASCAR, but it's like the serious version. I wouldn't say the serious version of Talladega Nights, but it's a serious movie, whereas Talladega Nights is not.
I just saw something that makes me a little sad.
What's that?
You know the movie 12 Monkeys?
Yeah, I know of it.
They're making a TV show about it.
Is it called 12 Monkeys and a Baby?
No, it's just called 12 Monkeys.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, really? That movie had such a predictable ending.
Yeah.
That why are you going to bother with this? Like after they in that film, there was these it was like the film I just saw the movie Sinister. Not even 5 minutes in, and I was already picking out what was going to be the end.
Yeah, but with Tom,
it does not deserve to be a TV show. They're just doing that because of Dusk Till Dawn, the TV series.
Probably. Now, you said you haven't seen Jack Reacher.
I have not seen Jack Reacher.
See Tropic Thunder. It's just fun to see. But Night and Day was good with him in it. Jack Reacher I enjoyed. I liked Oblivion. I don't care what anybody says.
Oblivion had its moments, but for the whole, I was like, it was all right.
I mean, I just enjoyed it, and it was probably his most calm role. You know what I mean? It
was the one role he didn't really shout in.
Yeah, which is
There's usually one shouting scene in most of his films.
Yes, but Night and Day and Jack Reacher are really good. You know what movie I liked, and I think he did a good job in, but at the same time, I'm like, why did they pick you? Was The Last Samurai.
That one is an enjoyable film, but I can agree. That's one of those, why him?
I kind of, with the story they were going with, I get why it's a foreigner.
But isn't it supposed to be a British man? Should they have gotten a British person to play it?
Listen, they went with an American person for that. Whatever it was supposed to be, I have no idea. But
because I believe it was supposed to be British Empire occupying China.
Well, this is
Japan.
Yeah.
Japan, sorry.
Well, I think this was more about being westernized and having America come in and show them things like baseball and stuff like that. But whatever.
Oh wait, there was baseball in there, so it had to be American.
Of course, but whatever the reason for it, the story it makes sense why it's a foreigner.
Yeah, that part makes sense.
It just makes sense and everything like that. So and I knew some people would even see the movie going, this is so racist, they picked a white American actor to portray. I'm like, did you even see the story premise for The Last Samurai? It's that the whole premise is that it's a foreigner. But,
yep.
So relax. But it's just, for the biggest thing, it was like, why Tom Cruise? out of everybody they could have picked. It's kind of like, what was it, 47 Ronin? Why did they pick Keanu Reeves? It's just like, why?
I haven't seen that film.
I haven't either. I have no plans to.
I tried. There was one film, speaking of Keanu Reeves, called Master of Tai Chi. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And I was looking for something to do while I was hobby painting. Because I watch Netflix whenever I'm hobby painting. And, ooh, Evil Dead 2 is on Netflix. So I was checking it out. And so when I'm doing this, I want to have it English. That way, I could do what I'm doing and not have to read subtitles. I could actually paint and listen.
Right.
I looked at it and went, language, English. I'm like, oh, okay, it's in English, fine. Half the film's in Chinese. And I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be English. There's dudes that talk in English, but, like, they go like, hey, how's it going? This is not very good, sir. This situation is getting grave. And I'm like, why?
That's not English. It's not English at all. But, with 47 Ronin, when I kept seeing the trailer for that, I constantly tricked myself. I'm like, are they making a Legend of the Five Rings movie? And then it's 47 Ronin. I'm like, damn it. Because an L5R movie would be pretty cool. And that's kind of, when you look at the trailer up until they announced stuff, it looks like it.
You know what? Thinking back on it, I can agree. It does have an L5R ring to it.
It had an L5R vibe. So every time I saw the trailer, the beginning of it, I'm like, they're making an L5R movie? Damn it, it's 47 Ronin. And it's just like, and why is Keanu Reeves here all the time? And you know what the thing with Keanu Reeves is?
Isn't he like a demon or something that they make a pact with?
I don't know. But
I'm pretty sure, it's mostly, these Ronin dudes, and then they go, we must find this man who can help us, and it's Keanu Reeves. I'm like, somebody here watched The Matrix a few too many times.
Yeah, right? But here's my deal with Keanu Reeves. I really don't have a problem with him as an actor.
He's not bad when he tries.
I really liked him in Devil's Advocate.
He was great in that. Bram Stoker, he was also really good. He
was. I also enjoyed him in Constantine.
He was good in Constantine and Bill and Ted, obviously.
Yeah, but, here's the thing with Keanu Reeves. He's got that face that you can't make him look... The moment you see his face, it just screams Keanu Reeves.
It's like George Takei. Once he speaks...
You just know it's him. So, it's not like... It's not, and... It's not like the, Gary Oldman, It's not like where you can play so many different roles and he's just so good you can't even tell it's him. In terms of makeup and whatnot. You really can't dress up Keanu Reeves. No matter what they do, it's Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
So, that was my thing, is it was just Keanu Reeves with long hair and scruffy in 47 Ronin. And I was like, he just looked, he just looked so not the part.
Reeves.
he just looked so, not the part for that movie at all. He didn't fit in. Which... You could say maybe is part of the whole thing of his character, but at the same time, it's not. It's like they did all the makeup and then they got to his face and said, "Nah." It's like they did his costume, everything. They got the wig on. They're like, "Okay, time to do makeup." You know what? It's been 4 hours. I'm tired. You just go do the movie. And it's just, I don't know. That's my thing with Keanu Reeves. I don't mind him and stuff, but his face is his face. You can't. You can't, and nobody's tried to hide his face.
Yeah.
Which is
speaking of funny stuff here, I was just watching. We like I said, we watched Sinister recently for Halloween.
Sinister.
It's basically got Ryder goes into a house that a murder happens, so he writes investigative novels to try and find the truth behind everything of these unsolved murderers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Not correct me, because I don't know if it's not a fact, but did this kind of fly under the radar?
No, it had a whole big TV spot and everything. It was pretty pop. It was one of those flash in the pan things. It was really big, but once it came out, that was it.
Well, okay. Maybe that's a more accurate way of what I was trying to get what I was saying, because I remember hearing about it, but then it came out and then.
It was good. I'll say for a horror flick. The ending, I think, was a little over the top, what they did at the end. But and like I said, one of the big issues but then granted, I went to school for this kind of stuff. 5 minutes in, I called the ending.
Gotcha.
But then again, like I said, I'm not as good as some of my other friends from college who did the same thing, but that's one of like these givens. You start picking out these things and start catching on a lot better.
Yeah.
But from it, we got into, someone mentioned how great the movie Rosemary's Baby was. You ever see it?
Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
No.
It's actually it's an interesting horror flick. It's a horror flick without trying to be suspenseful or thrilling. Like, there's not a lot of that, moments of bum, like, what's going to happen thing. But it has lots of subtle hints and clues, and it's really cool to see how everything ties together. But what was funny is throughout the whole thing, eventually I figured out, well, the description is Rosemary just moved into a new apartment, and she just got a new baby, and she's now in fear that her and her baby's life is in jeopardy. And so, partway through the film, I started clicking what was going on, and every person on the street that passed by Rosemary, I kept going, "Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!" And Elena's sitting there going, "What?" It's like, oh, it's obvious that this is all going to be devil thing or something about that. So every so often, like, "Oh, how's it going? Hail Satan." Yeah. "Oh, hey, Tom. Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Hail Satan." Okay. And then at the very end, it just had a room of people screaming, "Hail Satan." And it was just like, it comes together. Aha!
Nice. Aren't they, doing, like, a TV series of Rosemary's Baby?
Excuse me. I don't know. I know they tried to do I know they did a remake at one point.
Did they?
Yeah, they did do a remake under a different title, but it was clearly a remake.
Okay.
But I don't know about a TV series, but I wouldn't be surprised. They're taking a lot of, like, horror flicks and trying to make TV series out of them lately.
Yeah, the horror genre, for me, is something where it's like, all right, you have basic premises that all you can, like, for me, and I don't mean to discredit good horror, because there's horror movies and there's good horror movies of different types, whether it's spooky, and that's something I want to ask you a question real quick after I make my statement here. But it feels like with the horror genre, we're at the level we can only rehash what's been done. Maybe instead of it being Satan, it's it's somebody who's just crazy, in the head and his multiple personality, or it was him the whole time and he just made up his character, like that movie with
Sleepaway Camp,
with Johnny Depp when he's writing a novel.
The Ninth Gate,
whatever it is. You scared?
No, that's not Gary Oldman.
No, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, trying to think.
I forget what it was called, but like, there's only so many things so many, like, horror setups, so you just pick and choose certain things to throw together, because horror's popular and it's been done a lot. But my question to you is, what is more either effective to get you, or do you feel is an effective way for a horror genre? Something that goes for the scare, or something that goes for the creepy?
Well, for me, it's easy to do because I'm a huge coward, so almost anything. Aside from, like a lot of these films where, with the exceptions of, like Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street, where you see the monster right away type of thing.
Yeah.
That stuff, once I've seen it, then it stops losing its appeal on me. But I feel that true horror is best done when the threat of something happening is there. Because if there's the threat of it happening, then you've got the power of your imagination to run wild and start creating the fear for you. Essentially, you do the job of the film for them.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas doing the giant monster and the monster appears and, you just roar about it, it's like, oh, well, now it's not scary anymore because what you just put on the screen I don't find scary.
Right, and I mean, some of the stuff that's been labeled like the most gruesome and scariest scenes were stuff you only hear, you don't see it.
Yep, you hear or see, it's all implied terror. Like even in Bram Stoker, not even in Bram, in Bela Lugosi's Dracula, what made it scary was the threat of something happening. Yeah. Even like in like a good example is this one film we saw, Sinister. There isn't a whole lot of scary moments. It's the build-up and the threat of those scary moments happening that makes it scary.
Right, but now, just real quick, I was thinking of The Secret Window as the movie, but
that's it.
But like, I guess what I'm saying is, do you feel a movie like something in the horror genre, in that scary genre, do you feel it's something that is more, it should get you being afraid, or should it creep you? Like, do you feel being afraid is more effective, or being creeped out and therefore getting, not creeped out and that guy's creepy, like, oh, he's breathing heavily on somebody's neck creepy. I mean, like something is creeping you out and making you afraid because it's just creepy as opposed to being direct fear.
I think creepy is better, because creepy, I find, like in any film that tries to be creepy or versus a movie that's just trying to scare you, eventually the scare wears off. Like a good example is like the slasher films. They're supposed to be scary. They're supposed to be like, oh, I'm afraid. After you've seen them for part of the film, they're no longer, the fear factor is over, because you've seen it. You see what it's going to do and all that. But the creepy factor, I find, is more effective, because you could always creep someone out, and you can't really get over the creepy feeling as easily as being scared of something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Like, when it comes to horror, like Saw is in that classification, but for me, I find Saw isn't so much scary as it's just like, come on, I get it. This is, for me, it's just dumb. But like, as far, even the first one, while interesting, is
the first one is the only decent one.
Yeah, but I find it to be more of a gruesome film than a scary film.
Yeah,
and
it's a bunch of a gore fest.
Yeah, more of a gore thing. But I find stuff that, like, I find the creepiness. I think nothing can beat a good creep, like a good creepy. Like, the whole, like, old, not like ghost stories, but like, for example, when we were kids, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Was so good and so creepy. Like, it wasn't outright scaring you, but it creeped the hell out of me. Some of those episodes today, if I were to watch it, I'd be like, that's creepy. Like,
one of the creepiest episodes that sticks in my mind is the one with the haunted pool, where the red skeleton face thing comes out of the pool at night.
Yeah. That one was creepy. There was one creepy one on a lake. And it was kind of like a classic, like
the one with Gilbert Gottfried, when the kid went to when was stuck in limbo.
Yeah,
I like that one.
And then there was one. It had nothing to do with horror. It was with aliens. Like, she was an alien race, and like the whole thing was that her friends were trying to protect her from being abducted by these people, but these people were her family in disguise. And then they finally leave, and they're like, we'll come back for you, like, honey, or whatever. And then she gets the realization that her face just kind of, you don't see it, but her face just kind of goes away to this alien face, which is kind of just a plane. You can't see any features on it. And her friend's just sitting right next to her, and her friend gets all creeped out and runs away. And that was also pretty creepy, because it was creepy for the fact that here is this friend trying to help a friend from being kidnapped, but the whole kidnapping was really trying to get their daughter back. And it was creepy. And that, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark was on Nickelodeon.
Yep. There was only one thing I think that they did wrong in that show, and that was the movie.
Oh, well, yeah.
Like, the movie, because the movie at that point, because the whole big shtick about the film was it was real. And I was like, oh, it's not good anymore, because it's not them telling a story, it's some creepy thing happening to them.
Yeah, their stories were great. And one of the other real creepy ones was the dollhouse one.
I don't remember the dollhouse.
There was this dollhouse, and it was in like this shop or whatever. But then she or he or them got put into the dollhouse. But they were not just in the dollhouse; they were in the dollhouse, and their features were like dolls. So if you dropped them, they would shatter.
Oh, okay. I think I remember this one.
And it was creepy because they were trying to get out and not shatter, and then people in there weren't just dolls; they were people, and some of them shattered. You're like, oh my god, they just killed the dude! Like,
yeah,
you're just like, what happened? And it was pretty creepy. And then they had to get out through this window, and they opened up the window. That's how they got out. That's how they got in. You know, like this weird window doorway. Like, I don't know. Some of the stuff is classic ghost story myth stuff that's just retold that's existed folklore stuff. But then also the way they did it was great. Like it was just enough to make you not want to go to bed as a kid. Like
Warwick Davis was in an episode once as a leprechaun.
Like some of the Are You Afraid of the Dark stories were silly because some of it was like Dad's he got a cheesy mask on, you know, that type of stuff. Like, ooh, scary mask. But some of the stuff, like one of them was in a comic book shop or a video game store or something like that. And some of them were legitimately like, how did this get on a TV channel for kids? Like
the virus one.
Like how did this
with
make
the video game?
Like
I love that, the virtual reality world.
Yeah, no, like they were great, and I don't know if it's still up, but there was a time when every episode was on YouTube.
Yep. I think they're still around somewhere.
And, you know, if anybody's never watched it, you owe it to yourself to watch it. And to be honest, I have no shame in saying this. The only time I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark is when I was hanging out with a bunch of friends, and either you had the old-fashioned sleepover or you were hanging out late. That's the only time I would watch it with all the friends around. I couldn't watch it as a kid by myself.
That was one of the only. That was like my Saturdays. Was I'd go into my parents' room because it was the only TV in the house that wasn't the living room.
Yeah.
And watch it all in their bedroom because that was the only place I could. And I always remembered having to sit through the roundhouse and be just like, "Oh, can this please just get over?" And then it got into the good stuff. Like Salute Your Shorts, and it always ended no matter how Snick went, Snick always ended with "Are you afraid of the dark?"
It's true, and that whenever that came on, and I'll be watching, I wouldn't watch it by myself. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't.
There were some creepy episodes.
There were, and it was just surprising that was on Nickelodeon at the time.
Yeah.
And you know what wasn't creepy? I don't think it was on Nick. I don't know what channel it was on, but I missed was Ghost Rider with his little like fuzzy ghost thing, help them solve like crimes or mystery.
Yeah.
I just missed it.
I sat there. You know the sad thing? I never realized. I thought it had something to do with the comic book. Because I sat there, I was like, "Where's Ghost Rider?" Like every time I saw it.
That's funny, but that I like that, and I think
that was a Disney Channel like competing with.
Was it Disney? I don't know if it was Disney
it was
or it was like PBS or something.
I'm gonna find out
because that was like a Saturday morning show. And I remember watching that and the Magic School Bus.
Yeah, the Magic School Bus.
The Magic School Bus was great. The books end the show.
Let's see. This is a wiki on the actual thing. Here we go. Ghost Rider TV series. It was 74 episodes, 18 story arcs with 4 or 5 episodes to each arc. Les Nealon, Children Mystery, production Sesame Workshop was the production, and it was BBC One. It broadcast on Fox Kids, PBS, and BBC One.
Okay. Yeah, and it was so like there's no way you could even bring this back for nostalgia on TV.
Oh, there was the same group that did Sesame Street.
Was it?
Yeah, because Sesame Workshop.
Yeah, but I remember watching it on PBS. But it's so old, and it's funny because it was from they were supposed to be in Brooklyn or whatever. But it's so old that if you see any screenshots from it, when the computers they're using, it was back when it was the blue screen, white text only computer, and I don't even.
And like a flash of light for the ghost when he was moving around.
Yeah,
I remember that.
It was so bad. It was so old in terms of now, and it's just like I don't even know what operating system they were pretending to have on their computer. That's how old. Because this was.
It was before Windows.
It was before Windows 95. Okay, that's how old it
came out in 92.
Yeah, that's how
came
old
out in 92 and ended in 95.
Yeah, we're talking like DOS.
Would you like to play chess?
We're talking DOS, but if DOS had a blue screen, like it was like.
Wow, Are You Afraid of the Dark went into 2000?
Did it?
Yeah, 1990 to the year 2000.
Wow.
I thought it ended a lot sooner than that.
Yeah, I thought it was ended like by the mid 90s. That's crazy.
Yeah. Apparently, yeah, it had 7 seasons, 91 episodes.
Yeah, and you know what's freaky about Ghost Rider?
What?
Ghost Rider is a ghost that can only communicate by manipulating text and letters they could find.
Mm-hmm.
You know how scary that would be? Like, how did this ghost appear? How did the kids not freak out and run away? Like, we have to solve them. Like, oh, this is tough to solve. All of a sudden, the letters on their the magnet, let's say letters on their refrigerator start moving to form a sentence. I would be gone.
Yeah. No, you would not see me after that.
Like, I'd be like, man, I'm trying to figure. Like, was one kid trying to do math homework, and then the text in the math book shifted to give him the answer? Because that's freaky. I'd be like, I hate math. I am anti-math at that point. Like, I'd be gone. I'd be gone today, right now, if that happened. If I'm looking at my keyboard, and if all of a sudden the words on screen, if they just shifted without doing anything, to be like, oh, by the way, this is the lottery numbers. I wouldn't see the lottery number part. I would see BY then space T, and I'd be out the door. Like, that's freaky.
There was a video game for Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Really?
For the PC.
Oh my god.
Was made for the show titled Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Orpheo's Curse. And then there was a board game for it. Are You Afraid of the Dark? The game.
A board game? What is it? What is this? A Ouija board?
I have no idea.
Because that's basically all I needed. But yeah, no. This is why, and I'm sure everybody who grew up in a certain decade says it about their decade. But
yeah,
this is why I think the '90s were great, because we had stuff like Magic School Bus, Ghost Rider, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Interview with the Vampire, and all that other good stuff. Like '90s was just
a good time to be around.
Pee-wee's Herman, Pee-wee's Playhouse and stuff like that. Like '90s, looking at what was out in the '90s makes you wonder why people who are '90s kids aren't more screwed up than they are.
How did we? And if you look at half the products and like toys and furniture and stuff, how did we live past the 90s?
Right? Like Floam. I'm pretty sure Floam was radioactive. I don't know.
Yeah. There was. Like my I found, because when I was young, I was like a pacifier king. Like I had them everywhere. Not 7 years ago. Okay, now 7 years ago, I was in college and I was in my 20s. We found one of my pacifiers in the backyard, and it was this giant, solid single piece of plastic, and it was like this hard plastic piece, and I was like, how did I chew this? And why was this okay for me to have?
Yeah, right. And you do remember Surge?
Surge. I never tried it, but I just looked at that and I was like, this is bad.
I had Surge as a kid, and I can tell you that it doesn't pass regulation. I don't think it could. I wouldn't be surprised if there was crystal meth in Surge. Like that's like the stuff that we had in the '90s when there were no regulations were just ridiculous.
Dude, we had Ecto Cooler.
We did have Ecto Cooler. I miss Ecto Cooler.
Ecto Cooler was one of those drinks where you were like, yeah, Ecto Cooler!
Basically, no matter what. I mean, if I saw Ecto Cooler
It had
today,
Slimer on the can.
Yeah.
How could you not like it?
If I saw the High C Ecto Cooler today, I would still today go, yeah, Ecto Cooler! Because it's Ecto Cooler, man.
I've heard that it's still around, but it's not as good as it used to be.
That's a shame. But like, I still don't know what Floam is. It's scary.
Not yet.
Floam is scary. It was from the 90s. You remember? I mean, this is from the time of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but also Guts.
Guts.
And like those other shows. What were the other ones? Like Dare, Double Dare, and
What Would You Do?
What would you do? That was a good one.
What would you do? And Family Double Dare.
Yes, Family Double Dare, and then of course, like we had Salute Your Shorts. We had Hey Dude.
Hey Dude. I couldn't get behind that show, but I watched it anyway.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't really the biggest fan, but I watched it because it was, you know, what was funny. It had the classic boy stuck in a well.
Yep.
Episode. I'm like, yes, Lassie. Where's Lassie? But what was that dolphin show? Wasn't Nickelodeon?
What?
Flipper.
There was Flipper.
They brought Flipper back in the 90s.
They did, and they tried to make a movie with Paul Rugen. Was that he? Yeah, the Crocodile Hunter. You really do care about Flipper now, don't you? Now that's not a tale. Steve Irwin wasn't the Crocodile Dundee.
No, Steve Irwin was...
I probably accidentally said Crocodile Hunter, but I meant Crocodile Dundee, and he's like, you really do care about Flipper now, don't you? Well, that ain't a tale. This is a tale.
But there was just 90s.
So many good things.
So many good things in the 90s. I mean, that was also at a time of gaming, like gaming golden age, really. I mean, when you think back on it, how many games, you know, the 80s and the 90s, these are the times that we're talking about games with people still go back and play today and talk about today.
What's really scary is if you look back in Disney games back in our time in the 90s and 80s, they were impossible to beat.
They were.
They were like, you just sit there and you're going, you're Disney, you're supposed to be child-friendly.
You're completely right. I remember I spent hours trying to beat the Lion King game.
I remember there was the Pocahontas game. There was Aladdin.
Yeah, they're all ridiculously hard.
Yeah,
I don't understand. At least I haven't gone back and tried them today. I don't know. I don't know.
They may be easier now.
I don't know if I was just incapable of functioning properly as a kid. I don't know. But I couldn't. I don't know how far I got in Lion King. I just remember it being stressful. Like, those games were stressful.
Disney games are very stressful. I know, like, the big thing with, like, the Cave of Wonders was the big deal in Aladdin, trying to get through that thing.
Yes.
Pocahontas was kind of weird because you had to use all the different animal spirits, and the ending was very meh. It was very just get to the end of the stage and you see her run over and cover up John Smith, and that was it.
Yeah. But, like, this was, like...
Also, one of the hardest games from the 80s was Little Nemo. It was a really ridiculously hard game that you're just like, Elena and I have not seen anyone get past level 1 of that game.
The times were different then when games were hard and people were glad for it.
Yes. But we didn't need photorealistic graphics and complicated story mechanics and all that other jazz.
Just, you know, it's true. And this is also a time when games based on movies were good games.
We're actually pretty decent.
Yeah, nowadays, like, some of them are okay, like the Tron game, because it was kind of based on Tron Legacy or whatever. It wasn't that bad. It was a pretty decent Tron game with a pretty decent multiplayer following for a decent amount of time after. But I mean, it was okay. It wasn't that bad, but you can't compare, like, the Lion King and the Pocahontas and the Aladdin games were good games. They were just like, you couldn't.
Or the Mickey ones, the Mickey Clubhouse ones were like impossible.
You know what's also really tough? I wouldn't say really tough, but back in it a little bit were the DuckTales games.
Oh, man, DuckTales.
Woo.
Every day they're out. You can't just start that and not stop it.
It's true. It's DuckTales.
I own the first season and the movie, and you should have seen Christopher Lloyd's face when I put the movie in front of him. He just, lit up. It was glorious. You find me a man who hates DuckTales, and I find you a man who isn't human.
It's true. And if you say if anybody states that they don't like DuckTales, then, you know what? I don't think I like you. To be honest. Because it's DuckTales. How could you not like... They slid down in the intro. They slid downstairs covered in gold coins.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Did you ever see the YouTube video of DuckTales opening with live ducks?
I'm not sure. I've seen some... I don't know if I saw that one.
It's pretty good. I liked it. And you just see them, shaking the hats off their bodies because they're like, get this stuff off of me. Because they're ducks.
Because they're ducks. Well, yeah, DuckTales was great. Oh, my God.
Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck.
Let's get dangerous.
Dangerous. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Times.
And on that note, we are out of time.
Yes.
So... thank you all for listening. What do you guys prefer in your horror films? Do you like the whole fear, scare, or do you prefer the creepy, why are we doing this, get away from me, you're creepy aspect in a horror genre film?
We're not talking about creepy crawlers. We're talking about
you're sitting there the whole time going, I'm not comfortable here type of creepy.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments, and... thank you all for listening, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
See ya.